Hi, and welcome back to the newest chapter of On the Brink with Rosemary Armeo. That would be I. And we're speaking today on corruption, not of the political kind, crime, not of the political kind, for a change. This is a problem. We're going to talk about a problem that has affected many people, particularly the elderly. And these are the scams. I know you know what I'm talking about. You've probably gotten a phone call or a message over your email that has tried to suck you in. I hope you have not. You're lucky if you have not. So I want to introduce, first of all, Suzanne Mateo. She lives in Milan, New York, in the Hudson Valley. She has a long and distinguished career in nursing and administration of hospitals. You can see her bio, of course, on our website and other places. Suzanne, you have a story to tell.
I certainly do, and it's a very difficult story for me because it's not only impacting financially, losing $49,000, but it's impacting my sense of vulnerability, my sense of I couldn't discriminate that this was a scam, and I was seized by fear and moved with that momentum. And I'm telling it to everybody because I don't want people to get caught in it. And it's
Suzanne told me she's on a mission to warn other people about this, fighting past her own kind of shame, which I think the scammers depend on, to keep quiet about it. And so you don't hear about these kinds of things as often as we should. When did this happen to you, Suzanne?
This happened to me in July. So what happened?
So it's new.
Oh,
recent?
Very new.
Oh,
very
my goodness.
New, very
okay.
New. So what happened to me is I'm trying to clean up things in my house. I'm a recent widow and retired, and I'm doing all kinds of things to try to figure out how is life. So one of the things in my home is a portal that had Alexa on it. The Alexa, for some reason, was not working as it should be, and it kept giving me this message, an error has occurred. So I decided this particular morning I was going to take care of it. It was done. Enough with this error has occurred. So I said, Alexa is an app. I'm going to call Apple and tell them I have this app and have them tell me what to do to fix it or give me a new Alexa. So I called the number. I looked up the number. I called Apple. I spoke to a person who said, I'm sorry, this is not an Apple problem. This is an Amazon problem.
Because Amazon makes Alexa.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I said, oh, so they said, but we're going to help you. I'm going to give you a number and you're going to speak directly to Amazon IT. And the Amazon IT people will take care of you right away. In fact, I'm going to patch you in, which they...
Like they transferred you from,
from
one company at Apple to another person supposedly at Amazon.
So patch me in, they did. The person answered that they were Amazon IT and their name, which I don't remember at the moment, and how may I help you? So I tell them what the situation is. Hold on, please. And then they come, oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Mateo, but you've been hacked. Not only have you been hacked, your phone's been hacked and your bank account has been hacked. Oh, I have to give you more information. The people who hacked you have also charged pornography. So now the Federal Trade Commission is involved and they'll be contacting you. So now I'm like, oh my God. I mean, really?
Yeah.
This is not who I am or who I've been. So the person who is now...
So they have put, like, to make this clear to listeners, they have put your computer system, your reputation, financial situation, your standing in the community, all of that is on the line at a time when you're moving, just leaving a job, lost a husband. Oh yeah, they got you.
Yeah, so I am just seized with fear, really. I can only focus on how do I fix this. So I said, oh, I need to call my bank right now. And they said, oh my God, you can't use your phone because your phone's been hacked. So I'm like, I can't use my phone. They said, we'll help you. Who are you banking with? So I tell them who I'm banking with. And they say, okay, we're going to give us a few seconds here. We're going to find the phone number and we're going to patch you in to your bank. So next thing I know, a person answers and her name is Emma. And by the way, I looked up Emma after all of this and police and everything. And Emma is, if you Google Emma and fraud, Emma is known as an entity that is pulling these kinds of scams. So that was post all of this.
Interesting.
So after he hooks me up to Emma, and Emma is, hi, my name is Emma, and I'm in IT, and tell me, how may I help you? I tell her what happened with Alexa, and now I hear about the fraud and the FTC, and I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, she said, just relax, I will take care of you. Everything will be okay. We can fix this. We are seeing many of this problem. Said, okay, so now I'm feeling trust.
Yeah, as you described it to me, Suzanne, when the guy turned the number over to you, when this woman says, I'll take care of it, relax, you had this feeling repeatedly of, I'm being taken care of.
Yes.
I'm being helped.
Yes. So I used my trusting skills that I'm in the right place with the right people who are going to take care of me. So what she says to me is, Suzanne, what you need to do is you're going to go to your bank and you're going to withdraw the money that's in your checking account, and we're going to put it in a place that it's going to be safe. But you can't go to your regular bank because there may be somebody there who's done the hacking, and that's the vulnerability of people taking over. So I believe this. Okay, that sounds right. They may have hired somebody new. Okay, so again, I'm trusting. So she said, and don't hang up. I'm going to stay with you the whole day. Do not hang up and talk to anybody else. Just get in your car right now. This happened at 10 a.m. Get in your car right now, go to the bank. I get in my car, I go to the bank, not my regular bank. I go down to Hyde Park, which is about almost a half hour away, and I withdraw the money. So before I go in to withdraw the money, she said, they're going to ask you why you're taking out so much money. You're going to tell them you're buying a new car.
Wow.
Said, okay. Again, I'm trusting. Okay, so I go in, and do they ask me that? Yes, they do. And do I tell them that? I do. So I come out, I go back in the car, and I said, how did I do? She said, you're fine. You're really great. We're going to save your money. We're going to put it into place. Now I'm like, you're saving my money? They said, you're going to take this money, which is in my hand.
In your hand, you had it.
Yeah. And you're going to put it into Bitcoin.
Oh.
But Bitcoin is not in New York. Bitcoin is only in New Jersey. I'm like, oh, New Jersey, I'm in New York. So I drive an hour and a half to Newark, New Jersey, to a place they give me that I put in my GPS, and I go to New Jersey, and I go to the place that they identify. It's a gas station. And the gas station has this Bitcoin, like an ATM machine, and you have to feed the money, and you have to tell them what you want to do. And I don't even understand what they're saying about whose account or whatever, but I'm following the instructions on the machine, and I couldn't figure out where to put the money in. And Emma was now getting frustrated with me, and she said, hold on. And a guy came on the phone and said, all right, do you see this? And underneath you'll see a line, and that's where you feed the money. I said, okay, I finally found it, where you feed the money. But they kept saying to me, don't talk to anybody. So,
and of course, you're realizing all of these, what sound to me like red flag alarms, but you're only realizing it way after the fact.
Absolutely.
Not in the moment, right? Please make that clear.
In the moment. Yeah. I cannot filter anything else.
You're nervous, you're bumbling about it a little bit, yes?
Terrible. I am beside myself. So I feed the money in, and then I get back, and she continues to follow me home, right? I'm in New Jersey. I have to go to New York an hour and a half. And I lose connection. And when I lost connection, my sister called me and said, get home here, don't do anything. And then I lost connection with her. So, okay, so I got home to my house, and my sister said, call your daughter. I call my daughter. My daughter says, Mom, it's a scam.
How did your sister and your daughter know about this?
Before I went to Newark, I stopped at my sister's house because she would want to know where I'm at. And I left the phone in the car, still on, without telling Emma and said, listen, I have to go to take care of this banking. And that's how you do. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. We're listening to a very sad story, a very sad tale. Something awful that happened to Suzanne Mateo, a nurse and hospital administrator from Milan, New York. And you're listening to it because this is the sort of thing that could happen to any of us. She wants us to know exactly what happened to her so it does not happen to us. So I'm going to take a break for a minute. We'll come back after this word. We are starting off a new season of our Mayo on the Brink, our podcast, with a new sponsor. I'm very happy about that. It is Embellish Boutique in Latham. Anyone who knows me is wondering at this point what the heck I'm doing with a sponsor involved in style or fashion. But it isn't mine, it's my cousin's. Her name is Maureen Buckley. She was always the pretty one in the family, tall, thin, blonde. And even though she had a career in business, she spent her time looking for unusual and really weird, interesting, beautiful stuff from New York and Atlanta. And in her retirement, she has opened up this wonderful boutique. Every time you go in there, you're going to find something you didn't really intend to buy, but somehow you cannot bear to leave without buying. And you can afford it because she sells what she calls affordable chic. It's the uniqueness and the style, the flair involved, not the price tag that matters. I think you're going to really like it. It's called Embellish. Cute spelling too, Mbellish Boutique. It's in Latham. Please look her up on Facebook. And also back as sponsors for this season are Denise and Scott Stoner. They are the married photographers and writers who are behind Nature Logs. I have a brand new painting hanging up in my house, thanks to them. It's of a penguin from the Galapagos Islands. The couple just came back from their latest trek around the world looking for unique and beautiful nature, and they found it among the turtles and the birds of Galapagos. You can buy prints and photos and other artwork by them at naturelogs.com, and you can read. They both do writings about nature. They're fabulous. I'm a writer myself. I'm a little bit jealous, and that's also available at naturelogs.substacks. And let me spell Naturelogs for you: NATURELOGUES. Like travel logs. They're very cool. You are listening to Suzanne Mateo of Milan, New York, talk about how she was scammed out of your life savings. Do you have
my retirement money and my some of my daughter's money, $49,000.
If not her life savings, still a large sum.
Sure.
So we've left the story with your sister and your daughter trying to warn you that it's a scam, don't do anything, but you've already done something.
I already have, and I on my phone I could see they were trying to call me, but I didn't break the call to answer them when I was driving down because the fear was so monumental that here's my money. I just retired. I'm trying to figure out life and all of this, and I had my daughter's money there, So I'm thinking the problem is the scammers, the hackers, were going to take my money, not the person on the phone.
Supposedly helping you.
Right. So when I got back and my daughter said, you've been scammed, I said, I'm going right to the bank. I went right to the bank and I walked in with...
Now, this is your real bank?
Yeah.
Your actual bank?
And I tell them my story and they said, I'm so sorry. And they said, it's going on incredibly. And the guy who interviewed me was an IT guy and he got scammed. So it was like, wow. So then I went to the police department and I filled out a police report. And they said they had 4 other people before me who got scammed. I'm sorry, excuse me. So it was heart-wrenching, really heart-wrenching.
And so tell me then about the next, um, wait a minute. Tell me then about the next few days or weeks when it's sinking in that you have, by yourself, by your own hand, there's the guilt again, lost a whole ton of money. Yeah. How do you face that? Who comforts you? Who tries to comfort you in a case like that?
Nobody comforts you. I'm beating myself up tremendously. I'm a person who's handled millions of dollars.
Right. And budgets and official budgets. Yeah.
Yes.
That's.
So I made a decision, know the truth and go tell other people. And then the shocking thing was, as I told other people, they're telling me about their scams.
Yeah.
So people are not talking about it, which means we're not protecting each other. And we need to talk about it and learn about it. And now I am so sensitive to scamming and hacking and phishing and all of these terms that I think I have the responsibility now to take this lesson and do something with it. And so while there is shame and like, how stupid can you be? I'm looking at it as I now need to do something with it and move out of that ego and what can I do to help?
Just move forward. And I think the scammers depend on that sense of shame. They use fear and then shame afterward to keep people quiet.
Yes.
There's not one person listening to this who does not know of someone, if not themselves, who have fallen for or come close to falling for one of these. I write about this stuff. I cover crime and corruption for decades. And I got a call from Medicare asking supposedly for Medicare, as it turns out. And I was taken in and I'm giving really sensitive stuff over the phone before I realized, what the heck am I doing? And then called up, I looked up a number in the phone book to call Medicare to report this. And I call a number, they go, oh, that's terrible. Someone tried to scam you. And then they began asking me questions. And after about 5 questions, I go, holy cow, I've called another set of scammers, haven't I? Because that's how layered it is and how difficult it is. And they use this. It does not mean you're stupid or vulnerable or dumb. It's their techniques. And I want someone else to talk to you a bit about that. And that is my new friend, Gino Cortesi, who is retired now as worked for a software company for years in design, and as a hobby and more than that, has become fascinated by AI, its use in hacking, its use in society at large, the use of social technology, social techniques, and getting along with people in addition with the technology to pull scams like this. Yeah. So where did Suzanne go wrong? Can you see anything she did that's a warning sign? Well, she's not really a dummy.
No, that's the thing. Here's the thing that I think is the scariest thing about this is that, we talk about it can happen to anyone. And I think people don't realize that, we're all susceptible and vulnerable to this type of attack because, what's called social engineering, is part of putting a person or, kind of abusing the rules of communication to put people, in a different state. And that can happen. I think a lot of people hear these stories and they think, oh, well, I would never fall for that night immediately. But, when if you've ever been driving and you've been kind of, you're frazzled and you're not reading the road signs right and things like that. And you make, bad decisions. It can happen to a lot of people. And that's what this is about. So for me, the thing I find kind of, I think it's going to happen more and more in the future, and people really do need to protect themselves and think about how easy it is for them to get their money and to make sure that they're the only person that can go in and get their money and not have other people do that.
Talk about, if I'm interrupting your flow, continue, but I want you to talk about the story you told me on using the recording of the baby crying.
Yes.
It's an example of how they use people's own good instincts against themselves, which I think very much happened to Suzanne.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple examples. So one is, it was a special I watched a while back that was talking about hacking and social engineering. And what they did was they had somebody get on the phone and they literally had a recording of a baby crying. And so while they were talking to the bank, they were pretending that they had a baby, and literally they just had another, cell phone that's just, they're sitting there just playing this baby crying. And sure enough, the teller or the person on the other end of the phone started being, empathetic towards the situation, and started giving,
Oh, I'm sorry. Take
not
your
following the safeguards anymore, and she bypassed some things, and that was the example. And it can be little things, like, say, for example, that the person pretends that they spilled some coffee or something like that. And it just gives you this little human element where they're like, oh, wait just a second, I'm sorry, I just spilled my coffee. And just some little thing like that can kind of make you feel a little bit more trusting of the person, or start to feel like, oh, I've done that before and I know how that feels.
Right.
And the part where AI comes in is that AI can actually, we all know this now, if you've ever used ChatGPT and such, that you can start having conversations with AI. Well, once AI, and this has already happened really, is that you can start having real-time conversations with AI so that they have a voice. So when you start having that, then you have this environment where they can start perfecting every part of social engineering and repeatedly testing that to be able to just narrow it down to like the perfect script that they know hits most people.
Is that using Emma as a name? Is that part of what you're seeing?
I would think it could be, let's say, for example, that Emma, was, an AI that was, talking. I mean, we could say today, well, no, it was a person. But what I think what will happen in the future is that you could have, quote, Emma, but Emma could call 1,000 people at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you have more, things where it's an organization of people, you have those limits. But if you think about how you can automate things, through computers, AI can do a lot more. So that's why I think the prevalence will go up, because it's profitable, right? And
way profitable.
So the idea, the tricky part, of course, like I said, is developing the script that tends to work.
And so they're working that. Of course, we all know, we're learning about how machine learning works. You repeat something and errors happen, but it slowly refines out the methods. The name Emma might be it, whatever it is, the sounds, the baby crying, the spilled coffee. What is it that get people, to and it perfects all this and then puts it down as the perfect script, and that's the one that gets used.
And that's the danger of getting that to be better and better. And then the other side is that if you have AI can have a conversation, well, as AI gets more and more sophisticated, people think it's funny today to have Alexa, talk to Siri, for example. And there's videos of that because it's funny. But here's the thing: is if AI can talk to AI, then if you can start to get it close to,
I'm getting that Rod Serling feeling here.
Right, but if you get to that point and you can get it to be an approximation of how a person would react, then you can run, millions and millions of these scripts to refine them faster and faster to get the highest quality moments that work to get a person into that sort of panic state that happened to Susan.
Right.
And that's why I think people that have had this happen to them, and I think people have had this happen to them in other events in their lives, and find they don't want to talk about the events because they're so ashamed that they actually, that happened to them. And I know when Susan opened up and pressed this and talked about it, that's a big deal, and that's hard.
I myself have a relative who would not come forward for the same thing. She just feels like an idiot. And she got a phone call, and it was a panicky woman, tearful, panicky woman saying, Graham, which is what her grandchildren call her. And she said, Gina, giving the person a name right away, what's wrong? And got this whole story about how she had been in an accident. She had been driving and was arrested. And of course, it was reckless driving. She didn't want to tell her husband, the person my relative is really related about. And so, could you help me? And of course, you do want to help your grandchildren. I would do anything for my granddaughter.
Yeah.
And she ended up sending, I don't know exactly how much because she won't admit it, but sending gift cards to her supposed granddaughter. And then when she realized what had happened, all she could do, the same as you, Suzanne,
Right.
was count up how much money she had just given away. And she is not a rich woman.
And you look at the other side of this is the sort of the targeting part too, not only perfecting the script, but the demographics or figuring out who to target exactly when. Look at the timing with Susan,
Right.
with her being in a
Yeah.
really hard time in her life.
How do they know that? Is that something that AI is helping with, that they can target people at or about to retire
I think
or
it's
of a
more
certain age?
It's just data. Like it's just because so much of what we do today is, through, computer systems that basically, an event, there could be something that she filled out, that was basically known, so that you had like her husband passing away, there might have been
Obituary.
something.
Right.
Yeah, an obituary.
Yeah,
or
filling out
whatever.
the obituary might have been something that's they could search through the obituaries, for example, to find people or something
Wow.
like that. So it's kind of like, it's not really AI, it's just data.
Yeah, go ahead, Suzanne, wanted to add something.
When I spoke to the first person, the Apple person, I thought who I was speaking to, Apple, and I said my name. I found it unusual. He said, "Oh, Mrs. Mateo," and it was almost like they were seeking something else, and I almost felt like they were searching. But I didn't have anything to do with Apple. I was calling because I had Alexa. And maybe that was the beginning of them putting my name in and searching who I am. And now they have a history of who I am and what has just happened. And now they can build upon it. Because when I was speaking to Emma, and Emma was saying, "I'm so sorry for your loss," it was, well, okay. How did you know?
You did
about
not think
my
at the
loss?
time, how did she know?
No.
Oh, that's very interesting. You had a theory about how that operated, that it might have,
Oh,
how
yeah.
complex the plot was.
The layers, yeah. Because to me, the thing that's really interesting is, that she looked up the Apple, technical support number, right?
Right.
And probably any of us have done that, looked up a company that you think and you call them. Well, in this case, we had somebody who, was at a company, who probably really works there, but knew enough information to pass this person on to another phone number. And that's pretty creepy, right?
You're thinking it was like somebody
That
working
means
at
you have
home,
somebody that's working from home, yes.
but a legitimate employee
legitimate
of a
employee.
legitimate company.
Maybe they've only been there 2 weeks. But what they're doing is they're taking certain people that meet, some criteria they're looking for, and they're going to pass them through, to a phone number, right? Because that's how they transferred Susan from Apple. She called Apple because
Right.
you were using an Apple.
No, she was using an Amazon product, but wrongly called Apple.
But wrongly called Apple, yes. Okay, that's correct. I thought for some reason she was using something on her iPhone, and it was
No.
But okay, so it was just Amazon, Apple. Yeah,
I don't even have an iPhone.
Okay.
Wow.
So I have a flip phone. So I'm like, I want to stay away from all of that technology. So here I'm being patched. That's how that phone call.
That's what I was saying, is when they didn't want to transfer you. So that was interesting to me, that you had somebody working from home from quote Apple, that they transfer you to somebody else who's, the next person who's, so you're not talking about one person here. You're talking about somebody who's, it's an organization.
It was a group of people. A group of people had to be
because you heard
involved.
multiple voices.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
It wasn't one person.
Yeah.
Did you want to add something else, Susan?
I had an experience maybe like 8 months before where my Social Security information was hacked at a big hospital. And I'm wondering, did that distribute Social Security information?
I know
that was available.
I do know that the Social Security number is one that I've heard is a really important one to get.
Yeah, you have that, and you can legitimize yourself, a Social Security address and an actual street address, and a phone number, and you're golden.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. The AARP has written and has a whole campaign to try to warn the elderly who are very, very susceptible to these scams for reasons we've already talked about. And you can read lots of articles like don't ever give a number or an ID or any personal information over the phone.
Right.
Your bank will never call. Your credit card will never call. Medicare will never call. But is there anything we can really do to protect ourselves? Everything you've said has made me terrified.
I know, that's the thing.
I'm going to take my money out and put it under my mattress tomorrow. Nobody will get it there.
For myself, I was, one of the things I was going to do, even after just talking to Susan, was just to go through and look at how my accounts are set up to make sure that I have, what's called dual factor authentication.
Right.
It's a real simple one, which is just that a lot of things will go through your phone, so you get a code. Yes, it slows you down, but if you think about if an environment, if this happens more and more, it's probably a good thing to evaluate. So I myself was just going through and looking at how easy is it for me to get, to, my money? If I wanted to quote buy a car, just hypothetically,
Right.
How would I do that? And then maybe look at that and think about how do I make this safer, to make sure that it's really me and that it's not, going to be in somebody else's hands. So.
Wow.
So, me, what happened that day was that the social security number was identified. When I went to the police department, they identified the people, the scammers were using people's social security number.
So that is the reason you think it was connected to the to the data dump that
Right.
Wow.
Mm.
So what should she have done when notified that her social, and I don't know. I've got notices. There's these data leaks are just awful now. They happen all the time and you get notices, but it's usually personal information about you has been found on the dark web. What should you do? Change all your passwords?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that it's awareness. That's exactly what Susan's trying to, and even in this podcast,
Promote
is to
here.
get the word out. Because the thing is if something's suspicious, you should maybe be a little bit more suspicious of a situation.
Yeah.
Like I always make sure that I know the source. It's like if you get information, if you're a journalist, you have to consider the source. Do you know where that information came from? And I think, the smoking gun in Susan's case was that they kept transferring her. Oh, I'll do a warm handoff for you to this company. Let me know their name and that whole thing because they're keeping control.
Right.
But if
they
she would
had
have
said
hung up
to
the
me,
phone,
my phone was hacked.
that's what that was the
That was so
track.
cute, yeah.
That was a trick to keep you from.
Totally controlling you
Yeah.
and
Yep.
keeping you under watch. Well, and the takeaway red flags for me are Bitcoin, gift cards. There's probably more. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, any scam, like any of the training that I took, all comes down to it's all transfer of money. It's all immediacy, emergency, transfer of money.
Right away.
So those are the warning signs right away. So it's not like I'm calling you because I need to find out some information. It's like I'm calling you because you're in trouble and you're at risk of getting hacked, and they're the actual hackers. So the fear of hacking is being used while they're the ones, the lion in the sheep's clothing.
Right.
And they're pretending. And once that whole thing starts, I mean, it's I don't know, it can happen to anybody. And I think that's the thing. So to me, it's awareness. It's being suspicious. And especially when somebody's asking about money and needing it now.
Right.
Suzanne.
I have to tell you, it's very validating for me to hear you speak this way, and I don't feel like such an idiot. I'm still amount of share, and then when I did share, and I have been sharing, people are opening up, and it's like a cascade of a million stories who have been ripped off.
I'd like to say that I would like to hear from other people doing the same as you, Suzanne. I think this is exactly what we should be doing, sticking together. The women's movement, civil rights movement, anything that has advanced, but helping people has come from one person supporting another. So if you've had an experience like this and you're willing to talk about it, I would like you to contact me. My number is available. It's 518-364-1031. You can get me on Facebook, all over the place on the podcast. Let's talk more about this and see if we can't slow down these hackers.
Yeah.
We end our podcast traditionally with a toast, and so I'm going to ask Suzanne Mateo and Gino Cortesi to join me in a toast to people fighting back against victimhood.
All right.
There we go.
Toast to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.